when writing the album, we kind of wanted to open up the topics that we discussed and kind of capture a moment in life. So try to, the stories you hear, the people you meet, the things that happen to you, the things that happen to your friends. So a lot of the stories are culled from real life situations. A lot of them are fabricated to kind of capture a different feeling, or So some of those stories are true, and some of them are based on a feeling, I guess. We like to tell stories. So this is the medium we chose to do it in.
Lot Dispute is a post-hardcore band formed in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They make music that tells their stories like losing loved ones, suffering mental health, relationships, etc. Okay, they weren't the first band to do that because they were heavily influenced by Me Without You, another post-hardcore band that many fans show similar to them. But let's get into Lot Dispute. The reason why I love Lot Dispute is that they make a type of music that is dark and depressing, which helps not only me, but many fans of Lot Dispute who have problems just like the singer does. They even did a bunch of charity work that every year on Christmas Day, the band makes their entire catalog of music for free and asks for donation while choosing it. So, we're going to talk about Wildlife, their second album, and how this album became the best album not only in their band discography, but even the best post-hardcore album to date. After their debut album, Somewhere at the Bottom of the River Between Fago and Altair was released in 2008, they went touring with the support of their debut album, such as headlining and opening act. La Dispute and Tucci Amore released their split EP, Searching for Applause, The Worth of the World, in 2010, containing 2 songs by both bands. During their touring, Jordan Schreier, the vocalist of La Dispute, began writing the album in November 2010. Still, the album making kept getting delayed due to touring and promotion across North America. They expect to use lyrical elements on the album and have the album in 14 tracks. They recorded in 2 different studios, one in Trade 6 Studios in Chicago where they first started recording 6 tracks with concept and stories. They returned to another studio in Stadium Red in New York in February 2011 after recording what they left back in Chicago. Schreier wrote the stories and concept behind each song, and the band adapted these stories into lyrics and created music to revolve around them. They wanted the sound of the album to be raw and authentic, not to use any material the other bands were using like synthesizers and reverb. They supported 2 singles, Harder Harmonies and The Most Beautiful Bitter Fruit, before they released their album. On October 4, 2011, Lot Dispute dropped their second album titled Wildlife. The title of the album originally came from the themes of the songs that would be listed later on. Still, Schreier regarded as an all-encompassing word to sum everything up, and we all witness tragedy and change. It's the summation of our existence. This album's genre incorporates post-hardcore, screamo, progressive rock, and post-rock. The concept of this album tends to focus on storytelling of their life in their hometown, Grand Rapids, and the mental health that Jordan was facing throughout the whole concept. Now that we have the making of the Wildlife, let's finally get into the track list. A Departure is the opening track of this album, and it is the first of the 4 monologues that guide the listeners through each thematic section. It tells you what the album is going to be like throughout the whole track list from start to finish, and the narrator is telling the listeners to be prepared for what these people have experienced. The story is about their lives in Grand Rapids, their hometown, and what they witnessed. The beginning of the song is playing guitar in lo-fi in 30 seconds, then changes to actual studio from it. When the song ends, all the instruments stop but the drummer starts playing for prepare for the second track, then it transitions to Harder Harmonies is about struggling to fit in your environment and surroundings. The song goes that protagonist, Jordan, doesn't seem to fit in with the people and the environment in Grand Rapids. He feels miserable, but when he doesn't, the piano he plays helps him to be happy. You see, music is the only thing that Jordan can feel better as he doesn't feel in danger whenever he plays the piano or any kind of music. The construction of the song is split into 2. One is the personal dimension of the artist, and 2 is about the artist's relation to the rest of the world. St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church Blues is the name of the actual church by their band's hometown. The lyric starts how the church was so powerful in Grand Rapids that during the 60s and 70s, the parking lot was full because it was a popular church. The decline of the church started in the 80s and then completely decayed in the 90s, with the cost of it being violent crime and the unemployment rate. The narrator also compares the church decline to his story because he felt that he lost his passion when the church was destroyed. Ultimately, Jordan finds hope that he finds the light and happiness in him. Edit Your Hometown is about the person who is the last remaining of his hometown, while all his other friends leave, so he is struggling to do things all by himself. At first, he is writing to the person raised by the trees where he is from. He needs to stay there because of one person who raised the hometown and was dedicated to him. It started asking about people wanting to know what's wrong with them, but it's easier to blame something. He found out that all his friends were now gone, but he will still stay there. A letter is about his life struggling with depression and being ashamed that he feels that he did it to himself. He finds the rumor how his depression keeps on happening, whether it is the story he talks about on the past tracks or being different than anyone else, just like on the second track, Harder Harmonies. He feels ashamed of himself and others that he doesn't want to accept help from the people because the people don't experience what he is feeling right now and they don't know about pretend they do. Jordan will look for new things that will interest him to stop his depression, but he reviews it because he used to try doing that, but his depression doesn't stop, so he still blames it on himself. This track has two parts. Part 1 is Savor in the Forest and part 2 is Love Song for Poor Michigan. The first part takes place in winter and the narrator ends up packing his bags and leaving his hometown, not because of the environment or weather, but the people live in the same place as he is. After all, he's been talking about the stories in Grand Rapids and even told himself that he doesn't fit in with his hometown and the people. As the instrument goes faster, it switches to the second part, Love Song for Poor Michigan. The narrator desperately wants to leave and have a new life, but he will never forget what happened in Grand Rapids. It highlights many struggles that many people face in Michigan, so Jordan's ready to leave Michigan, but he still has hope it will rise again. On the outro, he's giving a goodbye message to Michigan, and he will never forget about it. This song is kind of one of those songs that take place at a party where two random strangers meet each other and lose their virginity. It goes that the protagonist goes to your typical party, so he meets someone at the party and decides to have sex. He is nervous about losing his virginity, but he doesn't want to be the only one who hasn't. The lyrics also take a deep look at how sex makes the protagonist feel, and if he should feel worried if he wants to lose his virginity or not, which he did. The reason why he has sex is because he is coping with depression, but his depression doesn't cope. The message of the song is saying it's okay to explore your sexuality. A poem starts the lyrics by saying, "Third time writing you a letter, getting darker, and I'm getting worse and worse," explaining that he couldn't come up with adequate words. He talks about how since his coping mechanism isn't working with anything he's facing, he has to deal with what is causing the problem and what they all have in common. Saying, "Like they could never break but they can, and they will and now spill like a leak in the basement, a drunk in the night choir." He wants to know where it all starts with having depression and any tragedy that he had witnessed until he realized death is all the solution that has been going on through his head. King Park is one of the album's longest and most popular tracks. The song is almost 7 minutes long. The title refers to Martin Luther King Park in Grand Rapids, where the band is from. The stories have two perspectives. One is the people who witnessed the shooting, and two is the killer. The story goes that the drive-by shooting happened in King Park. The shooter was supposed to target a rival gang member, but hit a kid who had nothing involved with it and died later on. It goes back to the narrator imagining the experience of how it felt for the people who witnessed and the victim's mother reaction. He also wants to know how innocent the kid was before the shooting happened. We go to the shooter perspective, where he stays in the hotel locking himself not to get caught by the police. The news shows the suspect pictures and calls his nickname Grandpa. Why Grandpa? Well, in the lyrics he says the shooter was older than the others, so we're going to call him Grandpa. As Grandpa was still in the hotel, but not in the hotel room, someone saw him and notified the authorities. The cops were trying to chase Grandpa, but Grandpa locked in his hotel room and the cops tried to kick the door. He was trapped. He didn't have any choice. The only thing he had was the gun, the same gun that he shot the victim, and he decided to take his own life. His uncle was on the scene as well, begging him to surrender, but Grandpa knows that he will receive life sentence. Grandpa screamed, "Can I still get into heaven if I kill myself? Can I still get into heaven if I kill myself? Can I ever be forgiven because I killed that kid? It was an accident. I swear it wasn't meant for him." In the end, it is unknown what happened after that, but this is a real story that happened in 2008. Grandpa's real name is Kyle Kennan, and Kyle ended up taking his own life in real life. Edward Benz 27 Times is about the character Edward Benz and his son. His son's name is unknown. The story goes that the narrator remembers meeting Edward Benz to fix the broken door that he had a problem fixing. After the door was fixed, Edward talked to Jordan about his son and his schizophrenia. Edward's son took pills to keep him calm, but his son realized he didn't have his normal life the whole time. He had schizophrenia, so he gave up using it one day. Edward's wife drove to the pharmacy to fill up her son's prescription, so she came back to the house, but the door was locked, and she started panicking so much that she had to call Edward to help him with what her son was doing. Edward unlocked the door, and then suddenly his son stabbed him possibly 27 times. His son was horrified, realizing he had stabbed his father, and the cops arrived and arrested him while his father died. We go back to Jordan feeling gut-wrenching and losing faith in humanity with all the stories he told us. I See Everything is about Jordan sharing his memories in high school where he visited one of the classrooms. The teacher started the lesson by reading some of her diaries about her son losing the battle against cancer at a very young age. It starts with the teacher reading her story on March 5, 1980. Her son's cancer was getting worse, but her son wasn't panicking. Instead, he was smiling. April 12, as his treatment was desperately needed, his appetite improved. July 9, he suffered way too much after the treatment, but his mother was glad he was safe. They went out of the hospital and headed back home. September 20, they played along in the backyard. October 14, he felt so tired that he no longer felt happy and is now losing his energy. November 30, he's at the hospital again. December 8, he's getting a lot worse. On July 19, her son passed away from cancer. After his death, she had to bury her son. We go back to the classroom after Jordan's teacher ends the story. He's wondering why she feels okay with telling these stories to the students. A Broken Shard starts with Jordan writing his fourth and final letter, but he doesn't know who has been writing for throughout the whole letter, as he still questions the most important part. Was he a character in his stories? After asking so many questions about, he goes through asking about his broken relationship, saying, "And I've been trying to repair it every single stupid day, but won't the cracks still show no matter how well it is assembled? Can I ever just decide to let it die and let you go? All my motive in every single narrative below reflects the moment when it broke, and will I never let it go no matter what?" He decides to let go of the girl he likes and faces that his broken relationship will never last forever. Jordan wants to tell the audience he can't fix it, but no one wants to hear it. Do I have to say it? Okay. All Our Bruises, Bodies, and the Whole Heartstrings is about you. Yes, after many struggles and tragedy of many songs and wildlife, Jordan is now asking, what about you? What are your struggles? The reason why he's asking you is to attempt to cope, find something related to the struggles that Jordan is having. The lyrics ask various questions like addiction, getting cheated on, being abused, someone's having disease, and all other questions that have references to the past songs on this album. You and I in Unison is the last track on this album. This song first describes Jordan missing his girlfriend and having a memory of what he could imagine if she was there, but it isn't the same without her. He suddenly realized he has to face that he will never get back with his girlfriend and has to move on with new things to do other than thinking about her. The song is similar to A Broken Shard, which he also needs to know that his relationship will never last long and the people should know that. The outro is played on the guitar for the last time. We finally finished talking about all the tracks on this album, so we'll get into what they did after this album was released. So, what was the result after the album was released? In Christmas 2011, Lot Dispute made their entire discography free to download to donate money to 826 Michigan, a Michigan-based nonprofit organization. The following year, Lot Dispute went on a headline and supporting tour as a promotion for Wildlife. The album sold 3,140 copies in the first week. Wildlife became one of their most popular albums and still is to this day. The critics and audience praised the album for its lyrical content and stylistic shift for the album. The album was even listed on the top 100 best albums in 2011 and is on every list of the best post-hardcore albums. They followed up on the anniversary tour in 2022 for the 10 years of Wildlife release when they performed their entire album. Hell, I even went there. And that's why Wildlife became the best post-hardcore album to ever released. Thank you guys for watching my videos. Consider liking and subscribing for more videos to come. I'll see you next time.